So I had 5 minutes in a wine cave that was full of wine barrels, not a lot of room to work with, and this is what I made. What's up, photography world? Josh Grasso here from theshutterschool.com, and today I got some Magmod Magic for you. I've got 3 photos that I made at a recent wedding in a wine cave. We had to work kind of quick because you only get a few minutes when we're down there, and one challenge that we had was actually the wine cave was full of wine barrels without a lot of room to work with, so we had to try to figure out how to get the scenery that I wanted with the couple able to actually fit in there. So we'll kind of go through the setups real quick. I'll do the lighting setups for you, how I shot it, got a quick behind the scenes videos and some behind the scenes shots so you can see how I made these 3 different Magmod portraits in a wine cave at a recent wedding. So the first one, pretty quick and easy. You've got this majestic door leading into the wine cave. Special wine tasting room that they have here is actually the door across from the wine cave. And since originally we weren't supposed to be allowed to go in the wine cave, we had to see what can I make outside of it. And so we have this really ornate iron door. And there's a super simple setup, nothing too fancy here. But as you can see, there's a lot of cool texture on this door. And so to accentuate the texture, if you use a sharp angle of light, whether it's from the side or from the bottom, the top, you're going to get a lot of shadow and texture in that door. And then also, because it's dark and kind of moody down here, just having a light behind the couple will help them stand out from the background. So whenever you have an interesting background in a dark space, it could be a very good idea to start with this trick of putting a Magsphere on top of a speed light and putting that directly behind the couple to light up the background. Then I put a Magbox with 2 8200s. I did not need the full power 2 8200s. I just had it set up ready to go because I didn't know what I was going to need and when. I thought I was going to need it outside for sunset portraits, but we ended up not. But anyway, it was good to go. You could do this shot with just a speed light in the Magmod Magbox. When you set up the box, you want to get it as close to the couple as possible. I try to shoot it relatively down so that the shadows go towards the ground, and we light them at a relatively 45-degree angle. And as you can see, here we go. Set up the shot. Pretty basic stuff there. Alright, so whenever I'm shooting indoors in a dark space like this, I am almost always at 1/64th to 1/28th of a power on the main light, just so that I'm not overpowering and I can blend in some of the ambient exposure. Now, if you want to knock down more of the ambient exposure and have a lower ISO or something like that to make everything black, and then have a really focused light on the couple, then you can go much brighter with the light. But if you're trying to blend in the background and to not make it just a light on black, then usually I use relatively low flash power and allow the background to be exposed on its own to a certain extent. So my camera settings, 1/250th of a second at f2.0, 35mm, ISO 320. And so actually this hallway was relatively bright, as you can see. So my flash power was actually probably a little bit higher in this particular instance, maybe around 1/64, 1/32. But really, it's just seasoning to taste as you're there. It's kind of, unless you're there measuring the lighting, it's hard to know like what light setting. Alright, so here's the final shot. I like it in black and white because the color is nice and warm and rich. It's kind of cool, warm and brown. But since it's mostly about light and texture, whenever it's just about light and texture, sometimes it pops out in black and white much better. They got the nice frame around them. One thing about this photo though, because I was lighting the bride from the side, I wanted to have a pose where she was looking into the light and then him looking down at her, so then he split light. So I posed them based on the lighting in this shot. So when you're using lighting from one angle, especially with 2 different people, you have to build the pose in such a way that the light falls on them both appropriately. So another pose I like to do is have them both looking into the light somehow. Here I try to make it a little bit more engaged where he was looking at her. Now the challenge here was he's so much taller, and so it just looks like he's looking down at her admiring, and she's looking at the floor, so there's not a ton of connection here. So if I could have maybe tried to work the pose a little bit where it feels like they're a little bit more connected, maybe got him a little bit lower. You know, there's some definitely things that could be improved with the pose here. But just to give you an idea, you want to make sure that it's falling on the right side of the face. She's short lit so that the side of the face that you're looking at has more shadow. So with girls, brides, you always want them short lit, which means the side facing the camera has shadow on it. It adds definition, sculpture. Guys can be lit in the side. They look really cool. So the light on their face works as far as flattering their faces. The pose could use a little work with connection, but that's what happens when we work fast. Sometimes you miss things, and it's really important to also take work that you like. Like, it's a nice photo, and I like giving it to them. They like the photo. But you always need to be figuring out, even photos that I kind of like, what could I do better? And here I'd like to have a little bit more of a connection of a pose, something like that. All right, now here's an example of me trying to problem solve, okay? So normally I like to scout out a location and have a whole bunch of plans for photographs. This place, this particular wedding, I wasn't allowed to go down there and scout. And actually, I've shot in this venue before, so I knew what the venue was like, and I have like a whole bunch of shots that I know I can do down there. However, last minute they said, oh, sorry, wine cave's out of commission. It's full of barrels. It's not, you know, normally there's space to walk through and see the barrels like lining the walls, but now they're all over the floor. You can't really even open the doors, so you can't use the space. But we can go down there just for a minute. Maybe you can shoot in front of the doors or whatever. So I'm like, okay. So I didn't have time to pre-plan all the shots. I kind of had to problem solve on the spot. So first idea was, what if I backlight through the doors, and then I can have a cool silhouette of them and then get the wine barrels behind them. And then here's the setup for the shot. Now normally this type of shot works kind of cool, where you kind of open doors and shoot through it, and then you can channel that silhouette-y light to just hit them and not everywhere in the environment, and then you can have dark doors and stuff. But it wasn't quite working because I couldn't get the doors open very wide. It almost works. I need the light a little bit lower so that they would block it. It's a little bit too flary here, and because the door was just a little bit too narrow, you can't really see the barrels. This one isn't edited because I didn't really love it, so I could improve it by making the background brighter and maybe adding some color, maybe bringing this down and stuff like that. But just as an idea of problem solving process, it doesn't always work. This is a photo that you might take when you try to backlight and you get this really big distracting flare. If you use it right, it can look really cool, but sometimes it's just distracting. I think here it looks unnatural because it's like, why is the light coming up on the floor? You're in a dark closet. So if it was hidden, this photo would be much stronger. So I'm actually showing you a few photos that aren't perfect because I think you can learn a lot from that. I have one photo out of the series that I really like, and that's why I always like to try multiple things and constantly be spinning my wheels and have a couple of options in case you fail at one or two. And the better you get, the more you practice, the faster you'll be, so that if a photo fails, you'll be able to get to the failure point quicker, or if it succeeds, you'll get there quicker, so you have more time to try 3 photos instead of 1 that takes you forever. All right, so again, then we get inside the wine room. Normally it's a wall of barrels, really cool background, but here you can't move in very deep. I'm literally this close to them. I'm like, how can I shoot them with the wine barrels in the background? Maybe if I shoot down, and it just wasn't quite working. I couldn't quite get them snuggling enough. They were just too cramped. So this isn't working. But if, let's say, I had more room and you like this shooting down angle, I have a softbox up to the right. My assistant, Orlando, who's an awesome photographer as well, by the way, he's holding a softbox for me to get them a nice light so that they would stand out. This could have been a better photo if I got a little bit better composition, got them a little bit closer together, and edited it so that the color of the wine barrels in the background looked a lot better. But just showing you a basic quick toning of the photo, because I didn't love it so much because of the restrictions of they had to stand so tight, couldn't get them to do what I want to do. So then if I pull out and shoot through the door, I'm trying to do something environmental. I've only got this tiny place for them to stand. I'm still not showing off the wine barrels. Still struggling with that connection of him being so tall. So anyway, there's a tiny sliver in the back corner, a tiny little pocket where they could go through this back door and kind of hang out behind the wine barrels. So maybe I could use the long leading lines of wine barrels as an element to feature in the scenery and then have them in the background. So I wasn't able to use the wine barrels as a background like I wanted to do. So maybe I could do the opposite and use the wine barrels as a foreground. So I got down really low, and as they were standing, so as you can see, they're getting in this corner back here, and I noticed there's this wall here, and to make them stand out, I need that wall to be really bright. So again, I put you can kind of see the light down here. There's a Magsphere on a flash, a orange gel so that the background will be nice and bright, nice and orange, and so that they can stand out from the background. Then I just expose 1/80th of a second, slow shutter speed. I'm getting a little bit of ambient light so I can get some color off the barrels. When I edited, I just boosted the saturation so it kind of had that gritty, warm light that you get in dark spaces sometimes. Kind of was looking good on the barrels, because you want the barrels to be nice and warm. And then you got that bright light behind them so that their silhouette stands out. It would have been even better if I was able to have the light pointed at them instead of just away from them, so that they would have a little bit of a rim light. So whenever you have a silhouette, you really want them to pop from the background. This works because the background's so much brighter than they are, but it would work even better, I think, if I got some light on them directly, so that I can help isolate them with a little bit more of a rim light as well. And as you can see, this top right corner was the dark door that wasn't reflecting light, so if I were to just have them in that space, you wouldn't be able to see them. So you need that pocket light to help them stand out. And then lastly, whenever I do a silhouette shot, I like it for visual aesthetics and everything like that. The couples sometimes really like them just for art, but at the same time, you need to get photos that show off the couple. So I still don't have a great wine barrel shot, so all I had to do is flip the pose real quick, try to get them really close and snuggly. Orlando's up here. We don't have room for a light stand. He's holding a Magbox for me. It's one thing nice about him. You can just pop him off the light stand really fast, and then had my light activated Orlando light stand for me, just throwing in some light on them so that I can get them nice and snuggly and have the barrels leading up to them. I'm down super low, barrels leading up, color, texture, and there's a little pocket for them to stand out. So anyway, there it is. A few different Magmod shots in one location. Hopefully you learned from also seeing me struggle a little bit and seeing some photos that needed a little bit of improvement, so that you can learn from my mistakes and the successes of the shoot. Either way, hope you got something you like to try. When you're in a pinch, you can take the Magbox off a stand, have an assistant hold it, and you can get good light anywhere. A couple good shots using the Magbox, and use some background light. So background softbox is a killer combo that you can use pretty much anywhere to get a great shot. And then also, you should always try to have multiple options in case they're not working out and you're in a tough space to work with. So hopefully you try a few and you get some winners. Alright, if you liked any of these tips, smash that like button. If you want to see more tips, subscribe, and we'll get more videos to your feed soon. Thanks for supporting my channel with your eyeballs and your thumbs ups. And I'm Joshua Grasso. Can't wait to see you in the next video.